كتاب الله 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 كتاب الله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه يسأل أيان يوم القيامة فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر كلا لا وزر إلى ربك يومئذ المستقر ينبأ الإنسان يومئذ بما قدم وأخر بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيره. Most of the surahs of the Quran are named just with one word of the surah. They are not their titles. Remember one thing else too. The surahs of the Quran are not the chapters. These are surahs. Sur basically is the boundary of a town. A strong boundary. So, the different meanings of the Quran are surrounded by the boundaries which are called surahs. These are the collections of ayat of the Quran, not the sentences of the Quran. Each and every word of the Quran is important. Ayah means a sign. What is a sign? Sign is something which tells you of something already known to you. Just a reminder. What is a signboard? It's not an information board. You are looking for some office and the signboard tells, yes, here it is. Information board is different. Signboard is different. So the ayat of the Quran, these are the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like the signs we studied earlier, the sun, the moon, the night, the day, then the signs within the body of the human beings. These are all Allah's signs. So the ayat of the Quran too are Allah's signs, not the verses. Verses is the term used by the Christians in Bible. Our term is not a verse. Our term is an ayah. The plural is ayah. So these are Allah's signs. We don't know what an ayah contains. Today we'll find one dimension of its meanings. Tomorrow we may find another. Yet another. Yet another. There's no end. There is nothing like the last tafsir of the Quran. No. I'm just introducing you to the Quran, towards understanding of the Quran. You remember the title of this workshop? The title of this workshop is Towards Understanding of the Quran. Understanding of the Quran can never be complete. It can never come to perfection. we will always be moving towards understanding of the Quran. We will just set our direction that we have to understand the Quran. We have to get guidance from the Quran. And Quran is the guide for each and every individual human being. May be he a kafir, a non-believer. It's a guide for a non-believer. It's a guide for a new Muslim. It's a guide for an old Muslim. It's a guide for a wrongdoer. It's a guide for a pious man. And nevertheless, what to talk? It's a guide for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam too. So, there are only a few surahs of the Quran which are named by their titles. And one example is this surah. This Surah Mubarakah, from the first ayah to the last one, talks about Qiyamah, the hereafter, the day of judgment, Deen. So, this is correctly named according to its subject. So, Surah Al-Qiyamah, this name Al-Qiyamah is the name of this surah as well as the title or the subject of this surah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Again, let me remind you, the Prophet ﷺ has been asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran that whenever you read from the Quran, when you recite from the Quran, you must seek Allah's protection against Satan, against Shaitan. So if the Prophet ﷺ needs Allah's protection, we certainly need much more. So, I recite, you too should recite, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. And we should earnestly seek Allah's protection, that Allah guides us through the Quran and Shaitan doesn't come in the way to mislead us. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. La. No. Uqsimu bi yawm al-qiyamah. I swear by the day of resurrection, by the day of judgment. Wala, and no. Uqsimu bin nafs al-lawwama. I swear by the reproaching soul, the conscience. You know, as I told you earlier, that different theologians in other religions and in the Muslims too have tried to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by logical arguments. There was an intellectual in Europe known as Kant. He criticized all of them by writing a book known as Critique of Pure Reason. And one by one, he disproved Allah from all the proofs they were given by the theologians about the existence of God. The teleological arguments and cosmological and ontological arguments. Now this was the time of the domination of Christianity over Europe. The hold of priests was strong. So, there were accusations against him that he has revolted against Christianity. So he had to write another book. Maybe he already had planned to write 2 books, but 2 books came one after another. And then he wrote a book known as Practical Reason. And the essence of that book was, though existence of God cannot be proved by logical arguments, yet 2 things cannot be denied too. 1, starry heaven above, and then moral law within. But we have already studied through Surah Al-Imran, that those who look into the universe and recognize Allah and then remember Him and reflect into the creation of this universe, they come to the conclusion that there should be a day of judgment. And I have already discussed with you the line of argument that this universe is working for man, and if man is useless, then obviously the whole universe is useless. But here, Allah Almighty first swears in the day of judgment. It's very interesting that the point of contention, the point of controversy has been sworn in by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have doubt about the day of judgment? I swear by the day of judgment. No? The start is as if there is an argument going on. Amma yatasaalun anil nabai al-azim alladhi hum fihi mukhtalifun kalla sayalamun thumma kalla sayalamun. What they are asking from each other, what they are discussing about. Oh, about that great news which they differ in? No. Soon they will find out. And soon they will come out. Soon they will find out. Soon they will find out. So, La, no. Uqsimu bi yawm al-qiyamah. I swear by the day of resurrection. Wala, and no. Uqsimu bin nafs al-lawwama. I swear by the reproaching soul. Don't they look into themselves? Their soul is reproaching from inside. They are being brought to accounts even today. What to talk of the day of judgment? Is not that a sufficient sign for them that there is going to be an account? They will be held responsible. They will be questioned about their deeds. As even today, their soul is reproaching them. Their ruh is asking them not to. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't look at her. Don't drink wine. There's something from inside. So Allah speaks by this. La uqsimu bin nafs al-lawwama. No, I swear by the reproaching soul. Yahsabu al-insanu an lan najma'a 'izama. Does man believe that we cannot reassemble his bones? You know, there are two main objections and confusions about the day of judgment. One, how is it possible to bring the dead to life again? This is a very common confusion created by the non-believers. So now Allah responds to that. Ayahsabul insan. You know, in this surah, you must trace the word insan, al-insan. Ayahsabul insanu allam najma'a 'izama. Does man believe that we cannot reassemble his bones? Bala, why not? Bala, why not? We have always been capable to put together in perfect order even his fingertips. Banana, fingertips. And there is a very beautiful reference in this. If you look into the thumb impressions of both of your thumbs, your thumb impression of your right hand will differ from that of your left hand. Look at it carefully. And you know, this thumb impression is the recognition of some individual. In this small area, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ability to create a variety. How many people live in the world today? How many billions? They are today. How many of them have passed away? And how many are still to come? The thumb impression of one thumb will never ever be similar to the other. So this is not rubber stamp. This is the capability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Qadir. Qadirina ala an nusawwiya banana. We are fully capable to put together in perfect order even his fingertips. Bal yuridu al-insanu liyafjura amama. The fact is, insan, one who is raising this objection, in fact he has got no confusion about this, whether or not Allah is capable to reproduce him. The problem is, bal yuridu al-insanu liyafjura amama. But man intends to continue committing sins. And for that he wants to have a plea. Oh, no one is there to ask me. I'm not accountable. I'm not questionable. I'll not be brought to account. So let me do whatever I like to do. This is the problem. يَسْأَلُ أَيَّانَ يَوْمُ الْقِيَامَةِ. And then arrogantly asks, tauntingly asks, Ayyana yawmul qiyamah? When is going to be the day of resurrection? Now this is the taunting way, asking Muhammad, you always threaten us with the day of resurrection. Why don't you bring it today? Why tomorrow? Why not today? Why not right now?